Okay, so we all have that image, right? Jesus on the cross.
Yeah, definitely. The nails, the crown of thorns, the whole scene.
The sheer agony of it all. But what if there's this other story, a really powerful, almost secret one, kind of woven into that exact moment?
Okay.
It's a tradition held really dear by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and it involves angels, Michael and Uriel, doing something, well, something truly unexpected with Christ's blood.
Wow, okay. Michael and Uriel. That's not the standard narrative you hear.
Not at all. So if this is new to you, well, get ready. We're going to explore this really fascinating kind of hidden dimension of what happened at the crucifixion.
It really is remarkable, isn't it, how even these huge, globally recognized events can hold such different and rich meanings within specific communities. Yeah. Gives you a fresh perspective.
It really does. So let's just picture a Golgotha for a second, the place of the skull.
Right.
You can almost feel the heaviness, can't you? That tension, the grief from Jesus's followers.
Contrasted with the soldiers just doing their job.
Exactly. And those three crosses against the sky, Jesus in the middle, already showing signs of just terrible suffering. And down below, you've got this mix. People weeping, others actually jeering.
Yeah, callous indifference. And the Roman soldiers, probably hardened to it all, just another execution for them.
And they even had that standard, pretty brutal procedure, didn't they, to speed things up, crucifixion.
Ah, yes, the leg breaking. Designed to bring on suffocation faster. Grim stuff.
But the thing is, the Gospel of John specifically says that didn't happen to Jesus.
Right, that's a crucial detail. By the time the soldiers got to him, he was already gone, deceased.
That's it. John 19, verses 33 and 34, no broken legs. Instead, one soldier takes a spear, pierces his side.
And immediately blood and water flow out.
Yeah. And this moment, it seems small, but it actually fulfilled prophecies from, centuries earlier.
You think of Psalm 34, not one of his bones will be broken.
Exactly that one. And Zechariah 12.10 as well, about looking on the one they have pierced. It's amazing how these ancient threads just come together right there.
And if you think about it more broadly, that blood and water, it carries weight from a medical viewpoint too.
How so?
Well, some modern interpretations suggest it could point to cardiac rupture. Blood mixing with pericardial fluid. It underlines the reality of his death.
Yeah.
Counters those theories that maybe he just fainted or something.
Right, okay. That makes sense. And then the Gospels carefully tell us what happened next. Joseph of Arimathea steps up, claims the body.
Prepares it tenderly, wraps it in linen.
Lays it in a new tomb. And for most of Christian tradition, that's kind of where the crucifixion story wraps up. Darkness, mourning, burial.
The end of that chapter.
But the sources you shared, they show this incredibly powerful ancient tradition in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church that adds a whole other layer, something happening right at that instant the spear pierced his side.
Something unseen by human eyes.
Exactly. Their tradition, it's laid out in their homily on the Archangel Uriel. It talks about this profound angelic intervention.
Which immediately makes you ask, doesn't it? Why? Why this difference in traditions? How did the Ethiopian church end up preserving this very specific story about angels getting involved?
Right. Their belief is that angels were there right then at the piercing. Not just watching, but with a specific divine job to do.
A mission.
Yeah. So why angels? What was this vital task? And why is the story so central in Ethiopia, but, mostly unknown elsewhere?
It's a genuine puzzle.
And to even start unpacking it, we need to talk about an angel you might not find in, say, a standard King James Bible, Uriel.
Uriel. His name means God is my light, or fire of God, right?
That's what we understand, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty fitting for an angel who illuminates mysteries. But here's the really curious part. He's huge in Ethiopian tradition, but often missing from the canon in Western Bibles.
It is strange. And it speaks to how different traditions prioritize different angelic figures. Protestant and Catholic Bibles, they mostly focus on Michael and Gabriel.
Yeah, Michael the warrior, God's fighter, protector, and Gabriel the messenger, bringing the big news like, Jesus' birth.
Right, standard figures.
But Uriel, the sources you found suggest he's almost like a key character who got edited out of the main version of the story that spread in the West. Deeply revered by some, but just invisible to many others.
And there are reasons why he's often absent from the official biblical canon, according to the sources.
Yeah, it boils down to how those early church authorities decided which books made the cut, right? Things like, did it have ties to the apostles? Was it widely accepted back then? Did it fit theologically? Did it seem divinely inspired?
Exactly. And texts that feature Uriel heavily, like the Book of Enoch or 2 Esdras, Well, they didn't quite meet those criteria for the people shaping the Western canon.
Which doesn't mean they weren't important, though.
Not at all. These non-canonical texts are still incredibly significant in certain communities. And Uriel's roles in them, revealing secrets, interpreting visions, even guarding Eden, they paint him as this really powerful link between God and humanity.
And even though Catholic and Orthodox traditions brought in a few more angels, like Raphael,
Uriel still often remained outside that Western list. It's puzzling, given his importance elsewhere.
which brings us right back to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. I mean, they're one of the oldest Christian communities anywhere, continuously practicing.
And they've held on to these stories about angels for centuries. Their respect for Uriel is really clear, especially in that homily on the Archangel Uriel.
It says a lot about how strong their own ancient traditions are and their unique take on this key moment. So let's get to the heart of it. According to this tradition, what was Uriel actually doing there at the foot of the cross?
Okay, this is where the story really takes its own unique path. The Ethiopian Orthodox tradition focuses right on that specific moment, the soldier piercing Jesus' side.
When the blood and water flowed out.
Exactly.
Huh.
While the Gospels just record that flow, this tradition says Uriel was there with a very specific sacred task right then.
And this task involved a chalice of light. Tell us about that.
Yes. The homily describes Uriel appearing with this incredible vessel, a chalice of light, apparently created by God just for this moment, but invisible to everyone there at Golgotha, pure celestial light made into a cup.
Wow. Okay. So Jesus' blood is flowing, and this radiant angel, Uriel, is there with this divine chalice. What did he do next?
The tradition describes his action.
It does. It says that Uriel, and Michael was with him too.
Michael as well.
Yes, Michael joined him. And Uriel reverently, carefully dipped his wing into the flowing blood of Christ. His wing, and collected the sacred blood within that glowing chalice. An invisible act happening right alongside the visible suffering, but holding immense spiritual meaning.
Immense meaning, and specifically a connection to Ethiopia. How does that unfold?
Well, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church teaches that this whole act, collecting the blood, was part of God's plan, specifically for Ethiopia.
Really?
Yes, it created this direct, unbreakable link between the crucifixion itself and this African nation, which, history shows, became one of the very first Christian kingdoms. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So the timing is key here.
Absolutely key. In this tradition, Ethiopia's connection to Christ isn't through, say, missionaries arriving later. It's forged right there at the absolute peak moment of his sacrifice.
That is such a powerful, evocative idea. And the blood itself, what does it symbolize in this Ethiopian context? Still redemption.
Yes, redemption, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the new covenant, just like in many Christian traditions, you see it reflected very clearly in their Holy Communion service, which they call kise.
Kise.
It's central to their practice, partaking in the bread and wine as the body and blood. But the fact that this story about Uriel and the chalice is preserved so carefully, even though it's not in the standard Bible, it just highlights their unique Christian heritage. It speaks directly to who they are spiritually.
So the blood in Uriel's chalice, it wasn't just gathered. It had a purpose for Ethiopia, you said.
Sanctification.
Exactly,
Yeah.
sanctification. The deeply held belief is that this blood, held in that luminous chalice, actually sanctified the land of Ethiopia itself, marked it as holy ground, chosen by God for a special role.
So the chalice of light becomes this foundational symbol for Ethiopian Christians. It represents Christ's life-giving blood and their direct, divinely planned connection to his sacrifice.
So for believers, it's not just symbolic. It means their land has this inherent spiritual power.
Precisely. A direct blessing given right at the moment of crucifixion. It shapes how they view prayer, pilgrimage, even their national identity as a people specially favored by God.
And this isn't just oral tradition. It shows up in their art, too.
Oh, absolutely. Ethiopian iconography. You'll often see Uriel holding this radiant cup, glowing with divine light. It's a visual shorthand, a symbol of that holiness being transferred from Calvary straight to Ethiopian soil. It constantly reinforces the meaning of this event for them.
Okay, so the blood is collected. Uriel and Michael are there. What happens next in this amazing story? Does Uriel just keep the chalice?
No, the story goes on. Right after collecting the blood, they receive divine instructions. And then they set off on this incredible journey through the heavens.
A journey.
Yes, flying directly from Jerusalem all the way to the ancient highlands of Ethiopia.
Wow, can you imagine? Two archangels, wings spread, soaring across continents, carrying what? The most precious substance imaginable.
It really does sound epic, doesn't it? flying over mountains, deserts, plains.
And what was their mission once they arrived in Ethiopia? Did they just deliver the chalice?
According to the tradition, no. They deliberately sprinkled drops of Christ's blood across the Ethiopian landscape.
Sprinkled it, like, onto the ground.
Onto the ground. Each drop that landed infused that specific spot with divine holiness. It was like God marking out the places that would eventually become the most sacred sites in Ethiopian Christianity, future churches, future monasteries.
So the belief is God personally chose Ethiopia for this unique blessing. That must create an incredibly deep bond with the land itself for believers.
It really does. Ethiopian Orthodox Christians feel this incredibly profound link to the crucifixion because they believe their actual soil was touched, sanctified by Christ's blood, delivered by angels. This sense of divine selection, it's absolutely core to their identity and history.
And this blessing, this sanctification, it played a part in Ethiopia becoming one of the first Christian nations.
The church firmly believes so, yes. They believe it directly prepared the ground, spiritually speaking, for Ethiopia to adopt Christianity as its state religion way back in the 4th century AD under King Ezana.
So history records the conversion, but this tradition adds that deeper spiritual foundation.
Exactly. It suggests the seeds of faith were planted centuries earlier by Uriel and Michael themselves.
And those ancient monasteries you see in Ethiopia, are they connected to this?
Very much so. Many of the oldest, most revered monasteries are considered especially significant because of this tradition. St. Uriel himself is actually credited with establishing quite a few holy sites there.
St. Uriel established them.
That's the belief. And interestingly, his veneration isn't just purely spiritual. He's also linked with mercy and even with helping crops grow. It's like a blessing on the whole life of the nation, spiritual and earthly.
So when people visit Ethiopia today, see these ancient churches, believers see them as, like, physical proof of this angelic mission.
That's right. These sacred places are seen as tangible results of that divine favor that started at Calvary with Uriel and Michael, a direct line back to that moment.
And this connection to the blood, it must really shape how they worship, especially Holy Communion.
Absolutely profoundly. Their communion service, Kise, shows this deep reverence for the blood. And for Ethiopian Christians, imagine worshiping on ground you believe was personally sanctified by the very blood the angels collected. And creates this incredibly immediate, personal link to Christ's sacrifice.
It really sounds like this tradition is just fundamental to their identity, as a nation with this unique Christian past and as a spiritual community.
It's a cornerstone. It provides the story that explains why Christianity took such deep root there and why their unique form of faith has lasted through so much history, so many challenges. The blood sanctification story connects them directly, powerfully to the cross through this specific divine angelic act.
Now, some listeners might be wondering, okay, if this story is so powerful, why isn't it in the Bible most people read? Your sources touched on that too.
They did. And it's a good point. The sources remind us that many really cherished sacred traditions exist outside the formal biblical text, but they remain absolutely central to the faith and practice of different Christian groups worldwide.
So how did the Ethiopian Orthodox Church keep this alive?
Through centuries of rich oral storytelling, and also through carefully preserving written texts, like that homily on Archangel Uriel we mentioned, they've faithfully passed this account down through generation after generation.
It's not just words, right? It's visual, too, in their churches.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you ever get a chance to go inside an Ethiopian Orthodox church, one thing you'll probably notice is how often you see the angel Uriel depicted.
Unlike in Western churches, where he's pretty rare.
Exactly. In Ethiopia, he's significant, easy to spot. And he's usually shown holding a very specific thing, a cup filled with red liquid.
A red cup. And knowing that every detail in their art means something, what does that cup signify?
That cup Uriel holds.
Yeah.
It's way more than just decoration. It's a powerful visual symbol of his specific job at the crucifixion. These paintings, often really vibrant and colorful, were crucial for teaching the story, especially when maybe not everyone could read.
So you'd see this in famous places like the rock churches in Lalibela.
Definitely. Uriel is often shown there lifting his cup. And even in newer churches, they continue this artistic tradition. It's deeply embedded.
And the red color, what does that tie into?
Well, as the sources point out, the red color connects directly to the Christian understanding of the cup used in Holy Communion. It shows sacrifice and salvation. It's a constant reminder for worshipers that Jesus' blood brings redemption, yes, but in their tradition, it also sanctified their land.
It's such a tangible way to link the ancient past with what they're doing in church today. And that cup, it connects right into their most sacred ritual, kise, the Holy Communion.
Precisely. During Kisei, the wine mixed with water directly represents the blood and water from Jesus' side. So there's this immediate link. The picture of Uriel's cup on the wall and the actual cup used in the service.
So when Ethiopian Orthodox believers pray near these images, it's more than just looking at art.
Much more. They're plugging into a sacred connection that goes back almost 2,000 years. It strengthens their community's bond with God, and it preserves their unique Christian identity, one that grew up independently and survived long times of isolation.
So these images were like visual anchors,
Yeah.
especially when Ethiopia was cut off from other Christian areas.
You could say that. Silent teachers, perhaps? During times of isolation, these images were vital for keeping religious ideas and stories alive, narratives that might otherwise have faded.
That makes sense.
It explains why, when later missionaries eventually reached Ethiopia, they were often stunned to find this incredibly strong, vibrant Christian tradition already there, with its own rich art and theology. It wasn't what they expected.
And like the images themselves are witnesses to this enduring story.
For Ethiopian Orthodox believers, they really are more than just pictures. They're seen as windows into heaven, real, tangible signs of divine truth that let worshipers feel like they're part of the sacred story. Praying before Uriel with his cup isn't just remembering history, it's connecting with a holy act that profoundly shaped their nation and their faith.
It's an amazing example of Christian diversity.
It really is. This unique art tradition offers such a powerful, different view of the crucifixion one, where God, through his angels, steps in very directly, very specifically.
It truly is an extraordinary tradition.
Yeah.
This whole narrative of Michael and Uriel collecting Christ's blood, it gives such a unique and deeply personal way for Ethiopian believers to connect with the crucifixion.
Yeah, it's clearly so much more than just folklore for them. It makes Jesus' redemption feel immediate, tangible, right there in their homeland.
Absolutely. And that brings us to that other little mystery your sources mention, the very last words of Jesus.
Ah, yes.
Apparently, there's a darker, maybe deeper meaning there that often gets missed. It definitely suggests there are still layers to peel back about that day.
It certainly does. It invites all of us, I think, to maybe think again about the full weight, the sheer complexity of those final moments on the cross.
Definitely food for thought, something profound to reflect on as we keep exploring the depths of this incredible multifaceted story.